Hello, everyone. It's Matt Black from WrestleZone, and I am here with Ultra Pro Wrestling's lead developer, Sam Vallely. How you doing this morning, man?
I'm doing good. Yeah, just getting on with it. A little tired, but that's normal nowadays.
Completely understandable, man. The last time we got to speak, it was in the midst of the campaign for the game, which was a big success. Lots of tears broken, games full steam ahead. From that point to now, what has been going on with the game in terms of development and preparing it for potential launch of holiday of 2024?
A lot of work has went on the animations. That's probably the one area that's the biggest job in terms of how long that's going to take overall. We were doing some numbers recently, looking at the animations, and yeah, it's going to be tight with the sheer number of animations that we have to do, and that's just the base ones. That's not even the ones that we want to create on top of that. Just getting all the base ones down, the moves that were in those AKI games, that in and of itself is going to take a long time. Hopefully, this is one of the reasons as well. We're kind of back to Patreon and asking for funding as well. So if we can speed up the development of the animations, if we can get more people to help us with that, that'll make everything else a lot easier. Because yeah, everything else outside of the animations, it's mostly me that's doing that, programming, all that kind of side of it. So hopefully, in the next maybe 3 months or so, I'm thinking that we'll get all the programming done for the actual gameplay mechanics. And then I'm kind of it's up in the air whether or not I want to go and help out with the animation stuff and do some of that, or
Yeah.
whether I want to go and expand on the creator wrestler aspect. I guess we'll see how long it takes with the next couple of months doing the programming.
Yeah,
Um,
both are big things. So like, it's kind of hard to decide what you'd want to tackle next at that point.
Yeah,
Uh,
we pretty much the actual gameplay. I wanted to wait until we had a lot of animations done because, like I've said this before, if we're going to do like an apron grapple move, you need that animation done so that when you're programming it, you're getting it lined up right and it looks right and everything.
yeah,
So we'd spend a bit of time doing the core animations after the Kickstarter ended. Yeah, it was a lot of animation stuff, a lot of the base animations, the stuff that's not really the moves, standing up, getting pinned, all these things that aren't actual moves, but they're just part of they're like universal animations. Every wrestler has them.
yeah.
Getting in and out of the ring, climbing the turnbuckle, all that kind of stuff. So we spent a bit of time doing that, and then the last few months I've just been we actually had to rebuild the animation system within the game engine.
Oh, geez.
Um, yeah, the way that we had it before, it was all set up nicely. It was all on track, but I just couldn't get the animations to blend. So it'd be very snappy, like if you were going to do a punch, as soon as that punch ends and you go back to an idle position, it was just snapping into place. It wasn't blending between the punch animation and the standing still animation.
Yeah.
And so I tried lots of different workarounds. None of them worked. And so we ended up having to kind of basically like almost rebuild all that stuff from scratch. Not necessarily from scratch because we had the old code there that we were able to reference and go in and pretty much convert. But it took a long time. But we're now at that point where the new animation system's up and running. It's all done. It's all good to go in terms of uh, basically everything we had from where we were. We're kind of at that bit now, but with this new animation system. Um, we've got Frank working on animations. That's all he does every day. He's just doing the animations, cranking them out. And as soon as he makes a new animation, I can bring it into the game engine. The thing that we're kind of focused on just now is to get all the moves done for the two characters that are in the showcase. We've got Bill Dollar and Oliver Buckingham. We want to get all their moves done because then once we've got all their moves done, we essentially have that one-on-one demo that we'll be able to um, put out eventually. And we still have to get menu systems done and all that stuff as well. But yeah, no, it's going good. It's on the right track. The animations are the only kind of sore point that is where we're not entirely sure how long it's going to actually take to do all of them, because there's just so many. I think we worked out there's like over 1,000 animations when you include like all the different taunts and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. So
I think I think a lot of people underestimate how difficult it is to hand animate every
yeah,
single move, and this is what AEW ran into with Fight Forever, because they went in there with the same thing, like, we're gonna hand animate everything, and I think that game probably would have been released in half the time had they just mocapped instead. But
yeah,
they wanted to hand animate everything, and it took forever, and hand animation takes it's a long time, and I don't think the average gamer understands just how extensive of a process that is to handle.
Yeah, well, one thing that we're actually going to do, and I'm not just saying this to plug the Patreon, but every single time Frank does a new animation, we're going to upload it. We've got a tier on the Patreon for all new animations. Frank's, as soon as he's done finished a move, he's going to upload it, so people can see the work in progress on that. But for the people that are on that tier, they'll actually see how long it takes, to crank out one move. They'll get a sense of, like, it's not just we can't just knock out like 5 moves in a day,
Would
but
be nice.
yeah. I mean, and yeah, if you did mocap, we actually experimented with motion capture a few years back. Obviously, being extremely small budgeted, we don't have like a big room and all that stuff. But we
Yeah.
found out that you could do motion capture with Xbox Connect. It was the Connect version
Oh yeah,
2.
the camera thing. Yeah.
Yeah, you could actually use that to some degree with the software to get motion capture, and it kind of worked, but for the most part, you had to go in and manually adjust so much that we realized in doing it that you're pretty much hand animating anyway, because there's so
Anyway.
much there's just so much
Yeah.
that you need to go in and fix. So that it worked out to be about the same time, roughly, doing it that way. If you had a good motion capture, studio, then yeah, you'd be able to get them done a lot quicker.
Yeah. Um we know Ultra Pro Wrestling is the spiritual successor to WWF No Mercy. But AEW Fight Forever tried to bring like the Aki engine to like a modern day style. Have you played Fight Forever yet? And if so, what do you think of the game?
Yeah, no, I've played it. I think I got it the first week that I pre-ordered it and everything. I was looking forward to it, and the first week it came out, I think I played it for like a couple of days, and then I took a couple of days off, and then I went back to it. Um, my initial first impressions of it, I found it very hard to kind of get to grips with. There was a lot of times actually when you do a dodge or a block in No Mercy, like it feels very obvious that that's what you're doing. Like when you do that big sort of slide backwards,
Yeah.
when I was playing the AEW game, I didn't know if I was blocking or if I was reversing, because I just felt like there was no, it wasn't obvious. There was no indication that I was doing it. So then when I wouldn't reverse moves, I didn't know if it's because my timing was off or it's because I'm not pushing the right button, or
Yeah.
it didn't feel as pick up and play as I was expecting. And I don't know, that there's a lot of subtle things that they do, uh, and these are things that won't annoy anyone else, but they're little sort of pet peeves of mine. But when a guy goes to do a move and he sort of sails towards the opponent, and it's to try and line up the connection so that the animation when they hit it looks good. Um, that's not something that's really in No Mercy. In No Mercy, if you do a move and your opponent's not in the right place, or if you do like an Asai moonsault, you're not going to rotate in midair to fly towards them to connect with them.
Yeah.
So that was something about the AKI games that I always liked, because you know, if especially if I'm on the ground and I'm trying to get up and my friend goes to do this move, but he misses me, and not because of my fault, but because he didn't know the length of his move, whatever it was, like if he was doing a frog splash or something, and if he didn't know how far his character was going to jump out, well, that was his fault, you know. And whereas I don't know, sometimes in these new games in 2K as well, it just feels like if you're not positioned right, the game will just force you. The game will rotate you towards
Yeah.
the opponent, and I don't know. I never really liked that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. Playing the W game, there was just I think it was kind of a blend of No Mercy and Here Comes the Pain. Um,
Yes, I agree.
yeah, and I don't know, just for for my taste, I think there was just a little too much. It's funny because people, you know, they watch our showcase and they watch our trailer, and we get quite a lot of comments. People saying it's too slow, speed it up. To the point where I'm thinking like, oh shit, should we speed up a little bit? You know, but that's where I don't know, those SmackDown games, they always felt too fast for me. And the AEW game as well is it's just a little bit too fast. And maybe that's why the matches end up being shorter. I know some people say the matches are like they last like 2-3 minutes or something like that.
Yeah,
Um,
I think overall, I think Fight Forever would definitely benefit from longer matches. They
well,
they are they are relatively quick.
Well,
You
when we were all playing those AKI games back in the day, one of the things you often hear me say about it was that I'd play a match with my friends that could last like an hour. You know, we could be playing the one match, and that I can completely understand if that's like too long for some people, but for me that was what made it so just epic. It made it so it's so much more worth it when you got the win. You know, like this, you've been wrestling for an hour back and forth. This grueling, like it wasn't even an Iron Man match. It was just a normal match, but it went on for an hour. And then when you win, it felt I don't know better than if we'd only been playing for a couple of minutes. You know, and I don't know. I like longer matches, and so with the longer matches, I don't know. Maybe there's something about it being a slower pace that kind of gives to that. I don't know. But obviously, we're trying to make it as close to the AKI engine as possible. So the timing and the speed, it's basically we're just looking at the AKI games and seeing what the timing and the speed was there, and we're trying to reflect that. So if it gets to the point where half the people in our Discord are telling us, no, you need to speed up a little bit, it's a bit too slow, then we might do that because we kind of want to we want to do it justice, but we also want it to be a modern day experience as
Oh
well.
yeah. I
So
mean, would it be possible to have two different options in the game, like classic AKI speed, and then like more like a sped up version? Could you have both in the same game?
it's possible. The one reason that we've kind of not really wanted to do that is for the online experience.
Yeah,
Because
true.
if one person gets really used to playing it slowly and the another person gets really used to playing it fast, and then they meet up with each other online, it's like what mode takes priority, and then whatever mode it is going to benefit one person and not be so good for the other person.
I mean,
So
maybe you could have separate lobbies that specifically run in one style or the other.
yeah,
So like that way people would, end up with, people who are playing at the same style they are.
yeah, it's definitely possible. But it's that I feel like that would kind of almost feel like we're trying to do two different games at the same time. Um, I'm always open to feedback. So if people are hearing this and they think that's a great idea and we should do that, then I'm open to it. Um, but yeah, I think it was the online mode that kind of threw us as a reason to not pursue that.
That makes sense. That makes sense. One of the big things out of the showcase that I think a lot of people noticed was the new art style from Hal Haney, which I've got, Hal Haney shirt on right now because I think his stuff's fantastic. How did you guys get together, and how did that idea come together for him to create all these brand new unique characters to fill this game's roster because some of those designs are just awesome.
Yeah, well, he'd already been working on a few of them before we'd ever spoken, before I ever met with him. He had, I don't even know how many, maybe like 10 or 15 or something, characters that he'd already been making and putting out. Um, and so this was actually, I think I might have reached out to him before the Kickstarter launched. Um, and yeah, so I said to him, like, I don't know how this Kickstarter is going to go, but you know, if it goes well, and I'm in a position to really take this game forward, then I'd love to be able to work with you on these characters. And I asked him initially if he'd already been developing them for something else. Like, are you developing these for some comic book or some other IP? And he's like, no, no, just have them. Like he was actually, I think he had dreams about being taking these characters and putting them in a video game as well. So the fact that he kind of, when he was designing them and drawing them, he kind of imagined them being almost like a Saturday Night Slam Masters type of video game, that those characters would kind of fit that. Then I reached out to him and was like, "Hey, I'm working on this video game," and so it was like the two sort of worlds just came together, and yeah. So then I said to him, though, with the story mode that we're doing, we're going to need about 100 characters. So so he took the ones that he already made. He took the characters that I developed for the initial trailer, the Kickstarter trailer. Um, and then just yeah, that was, he made a whole bunch of other ones, and then of course then we started getting the DLC characters as well, which then of course Hal does the drawings for them too. Um, so yeah, it's just it's been awesome.
Yeah, I love the new art style. I think it really helps the game pop. And one of the biggest critiques of the old Aki games was the graphics. And I don't think you're going to have to worry about that with this new art style. I think it looks fantastic. So, and I
I
think it
appreciate
should
that.
stand the test of time for years to come, based on a game that's built on this art style. Like, that's, to me, that kind of stuff can be timeless.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I mean, one of the things, it was such a conscious decision to do it this way, and purely because when I used to play those games back in the day, obviously the AKI games were very low resolution, uh, limiting, and all that things. But
yeah,
that actually made creating wrestlers kind of easier, because if you made your version of Rob Van Dam, because everything was so blocky and low poly, uh, it kind of looked like he fit with the other wrestlers in the game. Whereas I remember years ago on in the SmackDown games, anytime you'd create a wrestler, they would just stick out like a sore thumb. They would just look like a created wrestler. Even in the menu screens, they would be probably a silhouette or something. They wouldn't be like the other wrestlers in the game. Um, so I always wanted to be able to do what we did with the AKI games, create guys that look like they fit in the game, but also edit the wrestlers that are already in the game. And when you go for a realistic looking game, I think that just complicates that whole. It makes it very difficult, to make like your created version of Bret Hart and have him look
yeah,
like he belongs in the game. Nowadays, with the WWE games, the more recent ones, because they're so polished and so their creation suite's so good that you actually can create people like Bret Hart and the creator wrestler and have them look kind of like he fits there. But when we were developing this, that was, and obviously we don't have the budget of WWE as well, so
yeah,
so we knew that we just weren't going to be able to do a realistic looking game. So yeah, we kind of went for that cartoony style just out of necessity. But now that we've done it, and now we have these updated models, I love them, and some people, I totally understand why they're not into cartoony looking. Like, it's weird for me because I'm not actually like I don't really like the like WWE All Stars. Like I kind of prefer realism when it comes to wrestling games. I don't like the cartoony, like the throwing each other 20 feet in the air and all that stuff.
I mean,
So
I enjoyed that game. I thought it was fun.
well, yeah, I mean, I think because when it comes to wrestling games, I'm just always clamoring for that old AKI game. That whenever a new game sort of came out, and I remember when All Stars came out, and I saw the look of it, I got kind of like excited. But then I saw the gameplay and realized that it was like far removed from what the AKI games were, and then I was probably a little bit disappointed and just never went back to it. Um, but yeah, so no, I'm someone that likes the realism, but we kind of did the cartoony look out of necessity. Um, but now, because I can see where it's going, I can see how you can take these characters and manipulate them, manipulate the noses and the jaws, and kind of basically make whoever you want in that style. Um, I see the potential of it, and it's something that we wouldn't have been able to do if we were going for realism.
Yeah, no, agreed. Um, I think one of the biggest surprises of the showcase was the amount of DLC you guys announced for this game, like including Matt Cardona and legends like Demolition and the Sandman, and it's a ridiculous list. I couldn't possibly name them all off here. But while I was excited about it, and I understand the pricing per character, there's a lot of people that don't understand and are kind of flipping out over the fact that these are $5 per character for the DLC. Can you kind of explain this process of locking all these talents down and why it's going to cost like $5 per character? Because it makes sense if you understand it, but from the outside looking in, you're like, $5 a character. How what all these DLC characters, it's going to cost me almost $150 after I've already bought the game. So
Sure. Well, so the actual price, I think there was some confusion because we used $5 as an example. I think, and we had like a press kit. I think it was used in there, the $5 as an example. But it might actually not be. It could be less than $5. We're looking to basically have a relationship with all the DLC wrestlers and their families of the ones that are no longer with us. Um, and they're actually going to decide what the price will be. So if someone decides that they want their character to be $5, we'll put it at $5. But if they don't sell, and they then get back to us and say, "Hey, we're not really seeing a lot of income from that download. Do you want to lower it down to maybe $3? We can do that." We almost just want to be the middleman, because as great as it is to have these the wrestlers in the game and have their attires and all that stuff. The thing that I love about this that we're doing is that we're basically setting up a way for people to give back to those guys. But a lot of them, didn't get as much from other companies. WWE maybe is what they should have. A lot of them struggle to get their names and their likenesses and everything. I won't go into all that, but yeah, no, this is just we're just seeing this as a way of being able to help all these guys out, and so we almost just want to be this middleman and say to them, okay, how much do you want your character to be, and we'll set it at that. And so yeah, the way that we're doing it as well, is that, I mean, I can't go into what wrestlers typically get percentage wise, for having their likeness in a video game. But we just said to them, we want to do 50-50. Well, 50% of whatever these DLC characters make will go to them. 50% will go to us, which sets up all the, it basically all goes into the game, like anything else that we're doing, whether it's their character, whether it's new weapons, whether it's new arenas, anything. Usually these guys wouldn't get anywhere near 50%. It would be much lower. But that's that we just don't want to do it that way. We want to do it. Actually, someone who's I don't even know if I can go into someone, but someone once said to me, they were like, "Are you sure you want to do that? That's really commendable and generous if you want to do that, but that's not typically how it's done." And I was like, I don't care how it's done. Like, if if we can use this game as a way to help these guys get money, that it doesn't matter that however much money comes to us, that makes me happy. So so yeah, we don't know if it will be $5. We don't know what it'll be. We're pretty much going to leave it up to the wrestlers for the most part, and it'll probably fluctuate depending on what kind of sales they get and all that kind of stuff. So I guess it's technically up in the air what
Yeah.
the eventual price, and it'll probably be different prices for different guys, and then we can have guys that might bundle together with other guys. But again, that's not we're not going to say to them, hey, Meanie and Nova, we're going to bundle you guys together as the as the BWO. We're going to leave that up to them. If they want to be put together in a bundle, they can ask us and we'll do it. But we're pretty much we're going to be the middleman and just leave up to them.
Yeah. No, I think it's great because I think a lot of these wrestlers haven't had a lot of video games and haven't, been given credit where credit's due. And for the fans to be able to like literally speak with their wallets and like I'm a fan of, let's say Demolition. And
Yeah.
I want to give these guys some money. Well, I buy their characters in Ultra Pro Wrestling, and I'm also, helping support them and their family. I think that's a cool thing.
Yeah. It's like
So
like when you buy a video game, um, and like a percentage of that video game goes to the wrestlers that are in the game, and they get broken down even further. You just don't have that. You don't feel like you're actively paying for the wrestlers that you like. Um, or your money is also, if it's a normal video game, with the full roster, any money that you spend on that game, it's going to every wrestler that's in that game. And maybe you're not a fan of every wrestler that maybe you'd like. Maybe I'm just thinking from my perspective.
yeah,
The Demolition's a great example. Just knowing that if I can download them in a game and knowing that money is going straight towards them, that there's just something cool about that. And I don't know if that's ever really been done before. Um,
yeah. I
with,
don't think I don't think it has. Not in wrestling anyway.
yeah. So
So
yeah.
like is this the final DLC roster, or are you still in the process of adding more, or there's still people we don't know about yet, or
Um,
what's going on here?
so yeah, we've got a bunch of people that are signed. Sorry, that are on board but haven't yet signed. They intend to sign. They've just not got round to it yet. Um, and we basically took everyone that we had that was on board that had actually signed, and we put them in the showcase. So we do have a bunch of other people that are either going to sign, they just need to get their lawyers to look through it and all that stuff,
Yeah,
um, or people that are in WWE Legends contracts that have to wait until those expire, but that want to be in the game, and so they're just waiting until that runs out, and then they can come on board. Wish I could
very
tell you who those people were. Uh,
yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not trying to get you in trouble. I'd love to have an exclusive, but yeah, I'm not trying to get you or any of those guys in trouble. I'm excited about the possibility at some point. I know how crazy expensive it would be, for the average gamer DLC wise, but to have, almost as many DLC characters of real people as, created wrestlers that were designed for this game, in the first place, I think that would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I love about it as well is anytime we get someone who was actually in those games, um, like having Mortis in the game, having Glacier in the game, that's just awesome to me because
Yeah,
I would play as those guys all the time in Revenge. So yeah, it's things like that. We also have someone. Sorry.
it's all good.
We also have someone else who represents a bunch of people. Like maybe around 20 wrestlers. Um, that we're just getting all the paperwork and stuff done for that. But yeah, we've. I wish I could. I wish I could spill the beans on that one, but basically
Ah,
we've got almost a promotion worth of wrestlers that people are gonna lose their what over. So yeah,
oh
uh,
my.
lots
Well,
of exciting stuff.
that sounds exciting. Gotta ask. I know most of the entrances are gonna be typical coming down the aisle thing, but you guys got the Sandman. What are you doing with the Sandman's entrance? Is he coming through the crowd? Is he doing the whole spiel entrance? What are your plans with a character like the Sandman, who has one of the most unique entrances in all of pro wrestling?
Yeah, I think we'll definitely have them coming through the crowd. You
Nice.
look at those AKI games as well. They did deviate from that formula every so often because they had Sting coming out from the rafters and all that stuff. Um, I think was there not even. I'm trying to think if there was like some test footage I saw one time of Edge and Christian coming through the crowd. I remember there was a whole bunch of animations that they had lined
There
up.
might have been.
There was some anime. I know WrestleMania 2000 had more kind of full entrances, and by the time No Mercy came around, they actually had to axe them just I think because of space. But
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I'm trying to remember if I saw some test footage of Edge and Christian come through the crowd, unless it was just a mod that someone had made. But
Also
yeah,
possible.
I mean, coming through the crowd would be awesome. We get lots of people asking all the time about vehicles and having, like the truck and everything coming out, like us or Kurt Angle's milk truck or something like that, But that's a bit harder to do because that involves you need a specific type of stage for that to be possible. And if we have the stages with the ramps and then have the milk trucks coming down and stuff, it's probably not. It's
Yeah,
not going to work.
I don't think that's gonna work.
But yeah, I mean, lots of even Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 12 entrance, that type of stuff. You would love to have all that in the game. But coming through the crowd for the Sandman is 100% definite.
That's awesome. Um, we got to see some of the character models in in the showcase trailer, like Matt Cardona and some of the original characters. Once Hal draws one of these characters, how long does it take to take that character drawing and put it into like a character model in the game?
It can usually take, I'd say, less than a week.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
that's not bad.
yeah, maybe 4 days. It really depends actually. If it's like Um, if it's someone like Matt Cardona has the jacket that only he has, no one else wears that. So with that, it's like it's not a recycled mesh that we can use. Like if someone just has a pair of trunks, once we've got the trunks modeled, it's easier to make other guys that just have trunks because then it's just a texture change. But getting the actual model done first, that can sometimes take a little bit longer. Um, so yeah, Matt Cardona, um, that took uh, that took closer to 2 weeks. But yeah, most of the time the characters, because we spent a lot of time getting the base models done. So we've got the base for the male skinny, male heavy, and then the female skinny, muscly heavy. So now that we've got those bases done, going forward, creating all the different characters that use those kind of or draw from those bases, I should say, because they're all sort of slightly different. Um, but yeah, a lot of times now it's just clothing item texture changes. There are still some characters that have unique mesh bits that need done. Um, but yeah, going forward, it shouldn't be too bad. I'd say I mean, if we can do one a week, that's not too bad.
Yeah, no, that's not bad at all. I know everybody wants to get their hands on this game, but I know like the actual release date's pretty far off. What 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 kind of window can you put on the demo? Um, that will hopefully be in people's hands this year, maybe.
Well, initially we were hoping that we would have the demo wrapped up by the end of this year. That's looking less likely. After the Kickstarter ended, there was two things that kind of got in the way of that. One was I just completely I didn't realize how much non-game development stuff I would have to do, like all the kind of the media stuff and promoting the game, and there was all the business side, setting up the business stuff. There was just all the stuff that I ended up spending like 2 weeks after the Kickstarter, and I hadn't been near the computer, hadn't done any programming, and I'm like, this is I obviously wasn't prepared for that. So the other thing was the animation system that we had. I thought I could create a workaround for the issues with the animation blending, but it ended up needing a complete overhaul. So that added a bunch of time on. And then one of the animators as well. Frank, who I mentioned earlier, he now works with us full time, but he wasn't able to do that right away after the Kickstarter. It took a few months. He had to sort out some other stuff, so that took longer. So there's been a few things that have kind of made it take longer than I initially anticipated. So now I'm kind of more looking at it might be February-ish before we have the one-on-one done.
Does that still put the actual final game in holiday of 2024, or does that
Yeah,
potentially
I
push
think
the
so.
game into 2025?
No, I think it should be fine. Yeah, I think it should be fine. It's so hard to see when you're a small team, and I think if you're a big studio, you have everything's very meticulously mapped out. Um, but with being a small team, we're just kind of projecting out based on the work that we've done, and we don't know if we're going to lose an animator or if we're going to be in a position where we get 2 or 3 animators. So I think going forward that there's a lot of things on the horizon that I'm quite confident will increase our our production. One of the things actually, as well as the animation system within the game engine, as well as that having to change, we actually switched to a new software for creating the animations that is actually much faster.
Nice.
So I'm hoping that this will all, again, it's hard when you're a small team to project out like this, but I'm hoping that the uptick in speed that we've kind of got there, that'll sort of balance everything out, and we should still be on track for the end of next year.
Nice. Everybody, I'm hoping everybody that's watching this is excited about the game as I am, because I can't wait to get my hands on this thing. But for people who want to help get this game in their hands quicker, how can they support Ultra Pro Wrestling right now? I know you mentioned the Patreon earlier,
Yeah,
so do you want to talk more about that and what they get and what you guys are getting out of it in return?
sure. So, I mean, everything that we've been doing up until that showcase, we wanted to kind of hold back and rather than just drip leak, any new information, any new models, any new development, we kind of wanted to hold on to everything and create this massive showcase, which we've done, and that's out now. So now that that's out, we're kind of happy to show off anything that we're working on. But obviously, being a small independent company, we don't have a lot of money. We obviously raised a decent amount with the Kickstarter. We didn't actually raise the money from all the goals. Like, the story modes in the game is still going to be a bit of a challenge. And we have a couple of extra people working with us now as well. So any extra money that we get would obviously go straight into the game and make the game better and help us out a lot. So we decided, well, we could just everything that we have to show, if we do it through the Patreon, it gives an incentive for people to help support us on there. And so we just broke it up into different tiers. So if you're interested in music, there's a music tier that will Stephen, who's next to me just now, and he's been working on music all this morning. Um, so anytime he does a new track, he just sends it to me, and I upload it to the Patreon. And anyone who's in that tier will get to hear it before anyone else. Any new art from Hal or we've got Lucha as well. Lucha's working on the art for the title belts and the promotions. So any of his art that'll be on the Patreon as well under the art section. Anything that I'm doing, or I should say anything that Frank's doing as well with the animations, any new animations, they're under the art tier. Anything I'm doing with gameplay, which actually the next, I think one of the things I'm going to be working on pretty soon is some of the Creator Wrestler stuff. And so as soon as I get more of the stuff into the game engine, once it's in the game engine, I'm going to take little clips, kind of almost little walkthroughs. I'll be able to tell people what we're doing, and I'll just upload them to the whatever it's called, the game dev bit, the bit that I'm in of the Patreon. And yeah, we also have another thing as well, as we know a lot of people want to message us and talk to us constantly. So we thought, well, we'll add a bit in the Patreon for that as well. We've got a developer call section, which anyone who's on that, they'll get into our Discord in a special role on the Discord, where once a week we're going to do a 1 hour developer sort of conference call almost, with anyone who's in that tier on the Patreon, and they'll be able to just talk to us just like this, ask us questions, all that kind of stuff. And we'll all be in there. It'll be me and Stephen and Frank and Hal and anyone who's available on the staff. They'll be in there to chat with people as well. So
That's very cool. What's the address for the Patreon for people who want to sign up?
I think it's patreon.com/Ultra Pro Wrestling. I'm sure that's what it is. If it's not, if it's not, just search for Ultra Pro Wrestling on Patreon and you'll find it.
Very cool. And I thank you for sitting down with me this morning. I know it's probably been a long interview, but I really appreciate it, and I hope people are even more excited about the game now than they were before when they started watching. Is there anything you want to say to the people who have watched this entire interview? Anything about the Ultra Pro Wrestling game that we didn't get to cover, or just any general statements?
No, I just I'm extremely overwhelmed with the amount of support that we've gotten, and so the only thing I'd want to say is just thanks to everyone who's got on our Discord, follows us on Twitter or X, and just I don't know, it's all you guys have just always been sharing our stuff, liking our stuff, telling other people about it. Everyone who supports us is really active in like the comments on like YouTube and things like that, and it's just all quite it's just all overwhelming, and I just appreciate the hell out of that. So just thank you. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the time, Sam. Ultra Pro Wrestling Holiday 2024 demo, hopefully sooner. This is Matt Black from WrestleZone. Have a great day, everybody.